Okay, the infamous Jar Jar Binks. Nobody likes Jar Jar Binks because, you know, he's just annoying. And I like the one cartoon I saw where it was kind of making fun of some of the fans. It's like, well, you know, the reason you think Jar Jar Binks is annoying is because you're 40 years old. And yeah, that's I think that's part of it. But I think if you break some of it down, it's really there's a lot of really good reasons why Jar Jar Binks was kind of a shocking addition to Star Wars. For the main reason he really was just completely different than most people expected to see in a Star Wars movie compared to what we had before. He was almost like a cartoon character injected into I wouldn't say a serious movie, but not as bombastically crazy as as your average cartoon, and he really had this kind of aura about him where he was kind of like this. He was kind of like, in the Disney animated movies where they always had like sort of the wacky animal sidekick that you kind of expect in an American animated movie made for kids. But something like Star Wars, it was just so drastically different than what you would expect to see based on the three earlier movies. And one of the things I didn't like about it is that it it wasn't so much Jar Jar in of himself. It was just the way that he just dramatically changed how the group of heroes worked in the original movie or movies. There really it really didn't have the basic formula of there was a straight man and there was the wacky sidekick. It was always people were always sort of changing roles. They always had someone was always stupid for one reason, but then they would be smart for another reason in a different situation. So it's the comedy and the straight line was always different for different situations, and so it just seemed more fluid. But this also goes back to a lot of the characters in the prequels. They just don't seem to be really uh, have any personality that really stands out. You look at the original. It's easy to describe the characters. I mean, Luke's kind of a hothead, but he's kind of green behind the ears, and Han Solo, he's a badass, but he's kind of a sleazeball, and Leia, she's pretty smart and sensitive, but she's kind of snappy. The new characters, it's hard to describe them. The prequel characters just, there's really nothing to say about them. They're just kind of there, and they don't really do anything. And what really struck home in the original movies is that the main characters, they kind of seemed uh, like they weren't afraid to joke, they weren't afraid to laugh at themselves, but the bad guys, of course, the bad guys were super serious. And so serious, they just took themselves too seriously, almost, and that seemed to be part of their villainy, almost. And that seems to ring true in real life. Most really bad people are usually people that just take themselves way too seriously. But one of the things it's you know people have criticized Jar Jar Binks is he kind of went against what what the director of The Empire Strikes Back said he wanted to do. He said he wanted to make Star Wars funny but not gaggy, and that's kind of hard to define, but you kind of get what he was talking about. If you talk about a normal joke in a story, somehow the joke is dependent on the story, or the story is dependent on the joke. A gag, on the other hand, is something that you could really put in there or not put in there, and it really wouldn't matter. In I mean, a clear example of that is sort of the feud between Family Guy and South Park. South Park is a more joke-based show, and Family Guy is a more gag-based show. There's so many jokes in South Park. I've in casual conversation, I've tried to explain them to people that haven't seen the episode, and it's just really hard to explain them because you pretty much just have to explain the whole episode. So the joke and the story are just sort of intertwined. Family Guy, they've even admitted they've taken rejected jokes from one episode and put them into another episode, and nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care, and a lot of the comedy that Jar Jar seems to exhibit seems to be pretty much on the same level as a gag. And it's not that I'm against uh, wacky comedy. I mean, I pretty much like every Adam Sandler movie I've ever seen, but I just can't get into Jar Jar Binks. I just can't get into him. And sometimes I get interested in just some of the more alarming criticisms of Jar Jar, where he's sort of almost a throwback to old 40s and 30s movies where he's like Step and Fetch It or something like that. The goofy black man that is just out there to make fun of black men, and people talk about how, well, even the leader of Jar Jar's people, he's sort of like a fat, deep-voiced, constantly yelling, constantly emoting, emotional person, and sort of fits a stereotype of just black leaders at the early 20th century, and I've criticized it for that. And sometimes, I don't know, I go back and forth. Some people, they're constantly looking at science fiction and talking about how the aliens represent different races or minorities or different classes or something like that. And sometimes I think that's true. Sometimes I'm not sure about that. I wonder, when is an alien just an alien, and when is it a societal concept, commentary, and then when is it a Freudian slip where they reveal all the dark beliefs they have about how different people really act.